Welcome to Live Without a Car, the show where we talk about everything from the logistics of living without a car to the financial savings and lifestyle benefits. I'm Amanda, and I have lived without a car for nearly a decade in Portland, Oregon. I'm also an economist and your host. And today I want to talk about what it was like to go through a global pandemic without a car and whether or not I regret it. Because if there was ever a moment when car-free living was tested, for a lot of us, it was 2020. When I first sold my car and moved to Portland in 2016, I had backup plans for literally everything just in case something went wrong. The only thing I didn't have a backup plan for was a global pandemic. Luckily, the rules I had put in place initially served me very well. First, I will talk about the good, and then I'll talk about the bad. So first, the good. In March of 2020, everything shut down almost overnight. At the time, I had one fully remote part-time job, and shortly after the lockdowns, I started working remotely at my full-time job due to the emergency declaration from COVID. Luckily, this second job I obtained was just 1 mile north of my home. Even if I had to go into the office, I was able to do so without a car. My 1 mile from the office rule got me through the pandemic in the same way it got me through non-pandemic times. Another good thing I experienced was the discovery that I could get literally everything delivered to my apartment. I continued to grocery shop in person through December 2020 because there was a grocery store in my building. But in January 2021, when things got really bad, I was hesitant to do even that and switched to grocery delivery, which I still utilize 5 years later. If you don't own a car, these delivery services are truly a lifesaver. Yes, there is a small fee, but it is dramatically lower than car ownership. Now let's talk about the bad, starting with safety. The number one problem I personally faced during the pandemic was not feeling safe. Between COVID, recurring protests, an uncontrollable and unmanaged homelessness crisis, and life-threatening wildfires, I was honestly terrified to even leave the house. I could no longer walk in my neighborhood without getting harassed. Buses were largely empty and had individuals using drugs or carrying garbage. In 1 year, Portland became unrecognizable to me. Suddenly, I couldn't just comfortably walk out my front door to get to where I wanted. I only left the house if I absolutely had to, and so in that way, I felt very trapped. Related to this, my social life basically disappeared overnight, something many of us also experienced. I didn't have any family in Portland, so that alone made things difficult. And in terms of friends, I constantly weighed whether it was worth getting COVID just to socialize for a couple of hours. I always just decided to stay home, which meant even more isolation. And now, health. When I first moved here, I was much more active than I had ever been in Florida. However, with gyms and dance studios closed, as well as warnings about eating fresh food that came into contact with people who might have had COVID, I found myself gaining weight, eating more processed foods, and having some very weird health issues as a result. Unfortunately, I knew that getting care would be extremely difficult due to overflowing hospitals and shut down medical facilities. As such, I just had to push through and do my best to manage my own health at home. With all of that being said, I still do not regret going car-free during the pandemic. If I had a car, it would have sat in the garage for literally years, being dramatically underutilized. I would pay high fees for an apartment parking space, insurance, and car payments. And for what? What's the point of being able to drive to the gym if the gym is closed? So that was my experience. Did you go through something similar? Feel free to share your experiences in the comments, whether or not you went through the pandemic with or without a car. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, walk slowly and enjoy the scenery. Ciao.